Welcome to A Date with Darkness podcast, where I will be discussing the impact of hurtful and abusive relationships and how to overcome them so that you can move through your pain and get to the kind of healthy relationships you want, need, and deserve. I'm Dr. Natalie Jones. I'm a licensed psychotherapist based in California. While I hope that you find this podcast educational and informational, please note it should not be substituted for treatment with a licensed mental health professional. Also, due to the nature of the podcast, some of the information presented on the show can be sensitive to some of my listeners, so please note that listener discretion is advised. Hello and welcome back. I am recording this second podcast also on July 4th. If you listened to the last show, you know that I recorded it on July 4th in the evening as well. So happy Independence Day to all of you who celebrate that. I don't know, I feel like I should say a special happy Independence Day for folks that are just so enamored with fireworks right now, because they have such a passion and dedication. They pop all night and pop all day. I don't know, it's like it's definitely it's definitely a special talent that they have to pop fireworks all 24/7, I think. And I don't know if you experience that where you are, but in California, every year I can I could set my watch to it. I know that people are going to be going bonkers with fireworks. So here we go. I want to definitely put out a special disclaimer for listener discretion, because we're definitely going to be talking about a mature topic today. And I want to talk a little bit about sex, sex with narcissists. And, we've had a few shows about, sex in general and sexual health and sex education. But I definitely want to talk a lot about sex with narcissists. Last week specifically, I had an episode where I definitely discussed kind narcissists, and I'm definitely going to continue that discussion on this topic today and talk a little bit more about kind narcissists and how that shows up in the bedroom also, right? And I want to talk about whether or not, how you can how you can discern whether or not you are an attraction, like a genuine attraction, versus are you an obsession? Are you a sexual conquest? And I'm definitely going to put a special nuance in there for folks of color. And I have to, I want to put this caveat in there. I respect all of my listeners, but, I definitely want to put something in there that speaks to what I see that's also very unique with people of color. And I'm not trying to isolate anybody. I want to put that out there because sometimes I get emails after I say that, well, I'm white and I went through this and I went through X, Y, and Z. Listen, I'm not trying to exclude anybody, but I just want to put that out there. And speak to special nuances that I've seen that come up. And so whenever I'm dealing with someone who has narcissism or narcissistic traits, heavy traits, or the personality disorder, sex is always an issue. Always, always, always an issue. I can't emphasize that enough. And I'm going to do a special episode on that, whether there's in the way that it comes up is it comes up in terms of sex addiction, sexual deviancy, and even sexual identity. That comes up a lot. And I don't know that, sexual identity is a huge one. And it's based off my experience in corrections and just working in the prison and in criminal justice system. And I've seen it a lot. But specifically today, we're going to talk about, kind narcissism and how it shows up fetishizing, and how that shows up when, especially when you are having, when you've met a kind narcissist and they're not really into you, but they want to give you or try to give you the illusion that they are into you, right? And that they're interested in pursuing a romantic relationship. Because here's the other thing, and I'll preface it, I'll go back for a second. It's amazing to me the extent that people will go through in order to have sex. And what I mean by that is there can be a lot of manipulation involved. There's oftentimes a lot of manipulation involved, a lot of lying and sort of premeditation involved before even having sex with people. And part of that, especially if you're dealing with someone who's a kind narcissist, or narcissist in general, really, is that they tell you everything that you want to hear and they pursue you under the guise of actually trying to have a relationship with you. So the manipulation starts right from the beginning. And the pursuit can be, they could be married, they could be in another situation. It doesn't matter what's going on in their life, but they're going to try to pursue you in the way that they want to date you or be with you and have a relationship with you in a traditional route, when really all they're thinking about is the nether regions and their addiction to sex. And there's a lot of research around narcissist addiction to sex and pornography, risky sex, sex with, sex workers and things like that. And just, other things, based off of a lot of issues. And so when it's interesting to see when people kind of go through all of this, they jump through all of these hoops to pursue you, right? And they lay it out knowing that they're lying and that they're not really interested in anything underneath, other than just having sex with you or making you another sexual conquest, is what I should say. And so when dating you, initially, during the love bombing stage, they can be super communicative. They can have, all of this interest in you and things like that. But, love bombing wears off. In love bombing, for a lot of folks, for a lot of narcissists, stops, or it begins to shift after sexual contact, right? So after you have that first sexual contact. But anyhow, but there can, when it comes to engaging with sex, there can be like this aloofness, almost like, if they're not attracted to you and but they're attracted to, literally your body parts, they've reduced you down to body parts. There could be this aloofness and this disinterested, and it can almost come across as like, I'm not sure if I want to have sex with you, or I'm sending you like this mixed message, even though you may have talked about it ahead of time. You may have had all these conversations and maybe even planned for it and done all these things. But then when it gets down to the nitty gritty, there's almost like this passivity, or this like blah, like, I don't know, or like, like maybe them saying something and then not really showing interest. And then the interest just suddenly like comes on. And so there's all these mixed messages in the bedroom. That person is not attracted to you if that happens. Okay. I don't care what they say, they're not attracted to you. And they've reduced you down to, again, body parts. And, again, they're sort of psyching themselves up to do it. And I want to put a special emphasis here. Let me go through, because I definitely want to put a special emphasis here on people of color, Black and brown women especially, because I feel like this manipulation comes up a lot where you are led to believe that someone is interested and wants to pursue you, but really all they are into is the attractiveness and getting in your pants, so to speak. There's all of this sort of wooing ahead of time, but really they're not attracted to you because of your skin color. You again are reduced down to sex. On the other hand, you may have women from other races that are still reduced down to sex, but they're only pursued because of, again, they're pursued as being more close to whiteness or more exotic, things like that. So you can also be fetishized for that reason also. So I'm going to put that in there. Another way that again, is like, again, if there's a lot of conversation, there's planning around sex or conversation, like you actually have conversations about sex leading up to it, and you've told your partner what you like versus what you don't like, or maybe even in the bedroom you told your partner what you like versus what you don't like, and they may promise to do all of these things and share with you all of the things that they like to do in the bedroom, but they don't actually deliver anything at all. Or if they do, they are intentionally terrible at it, or they're not putting very much effort into it. It's very minimal effort. And it's more the sexual activity or the sexual engagement is very one-sided, that one person is getting all the pleasure, but you don't get anything. They're not interested in providing pleasure to you. They're not interested in trying to turn you on, per se. Again, this could be, where they completely are just like disengaged, right? And then there's no desire to do anything for you, but it doesn't become clear. And this is where the manipulation really comes in, is like they don't actually deliver. And then you maybe have a conversation about it afterwards. And then there's like this conversation like, or I'm nervous, or I'm sorry. I couldn't really do anything, and I'm sorry that I couldn't do it. And again, if you have sex on multiple occasions or on several occasions or even routinely, and this person is consistent with not delivering, they are not attracted to you. They want to get what they can get in terms of a sexual conquest and then move on their way. They're not interested in doing anything for you because you're not what they would normally go for, versus the person that they do go for, the person that they are attracted to. Again, especially if you were a non-person of color, because sometimes people, even within your own race, will say that they're attracted to people of their own race. Again, that's part of the manipulation, when in all actuality, they are not. They may, or even the opposite gender, they may portray themselves to be heterosexual when they are not, because that's also another issue that comes up here as well, is that they portray themselves to be into a particular race, or but they're not curious about you, either you or as a person, or what goes on intimately with you, behind closed doors. They're not interested in what your wants, your needs, your desires are. They're not interested in exploring your fantasies with you. Although again, this is where they may talk a good game, but they never actually truly deliver on that, right? And, again, even in the bedroom, like, let's say you have sex and you decide to go to sleep after, they're going to create distance even in the bed with you. So that means that they may sleep at the far end of the bed. There's no desire to cuddle or connect or even have a conversation after, once they've done what they've needed to do. We'll put it that way, because this is on social media and things like that. So once once they're satisfied, it's definitely a rollover and go to sleep. It's like no conversation. There's no talk about how was it for you? Was there anything we can improve on? There's none of that. There's never any of those conversations. There's no cuddling. There's no wanting to connect. There's no wanting to even try to please you after they have satisfied themselves. They're not into you. They're not attracted to you. So because again, that's very one-sided, and they're also creating distance in the bed. They may turn away, sleep on the far end of the bed. They may get up, because, again, they want to escape. They don't, once they've reach their sexual satisfaction, they no longer have any emotion towards you or any desire to connect with you. In fact, if anything, they want to get as far away from you as they can. So this may look like them actually getting up and going to sleep in another room. May leave the place altogether if they feel like they can't get away. This may look like them falling asleep or disengaging and getting on the phone, or disengaging and getting on the TV and shutting down and not really wanting to engage with you at all. That person is not into you. They may, they may go to sleep and create excuses to get out of bed often when they go to sleep, because the whole intent is to make sure that I never connect with you. I'm using you for what you can do for me, but I don't actually want to create a connection with you, right? But I'm not going to tell you that. But what I'm going to do is I'm going to create all these excuses, and I'm going to have a form of escapism or avoidance where I create this physical distance from you because I don't want to connect with you, but I'm not going to tell you that because I may want to have sex with you again later, or use you again later, but I don't want to connect with you intimately. I don't want to connect with you emotionally or psychologically, right? The other thing, which I think is not talked about enough, when you are a sexual conquest and there's a disinterest, is a person may, again, they may have sex with you while you're unconscious. So if you're sleeping and, they may wake up, part of their attraction is like, oh, great, here's access to someone's body parts, and I don't really actually need to engage with them on an emotional level. I don't need to talk to them. I don't need to try to pretend and try to kiss them. I can just get what I want and not really have a person interact with me in a way. And so there is a high attraction to having sex with a person while they are unconscious. And that may actually happen. And they could say, well, sometimes I do that when I'm sleeping, or that just happens. And I don't know, I didn't know I was doing it. And so that sort of thing. And so you may wake up to someone pleasuring themselves to you without you actually giving consent, which is illegal, by the way. So for folks that might think that this is a normal or regular or occurrence that happens, because I have worked with people that have talked about how this happens quite often, and there's a sense of normalcy to it. This is not normal, it's not healthy, and in most states, it's not legal. So just as an FYI there, but there is a psychological issue going on there with that. So just so you know, that is also another element of kind narcissism, where it's like, I want to put in the least amount of effort to please you as possible, but I want to get my needs met. And if you could be dead, comatose, whatever, where you're just a body that's there, and I don't really have to do anything to sort of arouse you or get you, I'm good with that. And that's sort of the thinking that goes along with that. And I want you guys to be aware of that. Okay. Again, because you're a conquest, you're not a genuine interest. You're not someone that they are genuinely invested in being in a relationship with. And then you're not someone that they are actually attracted to, in a sense that they want to, attracted to the idea of wanting to be with you for the long haul. They may be attracted again to your body parts, but they may not ever want to be seen outside with you, okay? If you are a person of color that has been used in this way, you've been fetishized, right? And you're just used for sex. Your black and brown skin is good enough for the bedroom, but they don't ever want to be seen outside with you. the discard for you is going to be the harshest. When this person is done with you, like they've met their needs with you, the discard for you is going to be harshest, because once, and this could actually be applicable to anyone that they may not find physically attractive or that they want to be associated with. But when someone better comes along, and by better, I mean someone who fits the ideal beauty standards that they find much more appealing to you, you're going to get left. You might not even get a goodbye. You might not even get a text or anything. They're just gonna, they may just be gone, and you're left in the wind, kind of wondering what happens. And I think that this happens a lot in dating. The new dating culture especially, but you will get discarded fast, quick, and in a hurry, and that person will not ever contact you again, which can be particularly hurtful, because if they've gone through this whole setup to pretend like they actually want a relationship with you, only to have sex with you and then throw you out like a piece of trash, that can be very harmful. And their whole identity, which they try to keep secret from you, they don't want to involve you in any aspects of their life, any aspects of the day-to-day. If they call you, they may be outside or in their car or somewhere where people can't see or hear, but they don't want you to be involved with them. But again, be mindful of being fetishized or being sought after when a person doesn't even align themselves with your race, because they're going to be especially cruel. That is applicable even within, and especially within, your own race. They can be exceptionally cruel to you when you're not someone that they're attracted to, or that they would normally go for out in the public world. And their idea and reasoning, there is a logic for this that they kind of go through. The logic for this is one that's based in entitlement. And the entitlement is that you should be happy that I'm lowering my standards to be with you. And so that kind of the thing is like, you're not someone that I would ever be caught dead with. You're not someone that I like. And so, I'm never going to tell anybody about this unless I'm just talking about body count or something like that. But, you should be happy that I'm even giving you the time of day and that I'm even here with you right now. And so it's sort of that thinking, very entitled, very selfish. And it's almost to the point where they feel like you owe them for them having sex with you, like you owe me like gratitude for even being here with you, right? And I think when it comes to racial disparities in the bedroom, I think Kanye West, Kanye West has talked about this, where men can use women, and then when something better comes along, they'll leave you as soon as they can. So there's music and other stuff about this out there. If this person in tradition, typically in my experience of working with people like this that do this, if they have this is something that they do, like this is what they do on a regular basis, like they use people, and they set up this ruse, this guise, right? They may go by a fake name, they may not tell you where they live, or I don't know, all this. They may go through all these like things to like distance you from their lives, right? But and if they kind of go through all these things, what I'm trying to say is, if this person has a history and this is like an ongoing scam or con that they're kind of doing, like this is a rolling thing that they do, like they're known to do this by people that know them, or this is just how they move through life, just kind of going through body counts. There's another element at play, and especially when it comes to men, that's not talked about enough, but it, it's what we call in Black culture down low. And so down low means that person, there's typically a same sex attraction. So what I mean, let me clear this up, because again, the fireworks are messing with me right now. So if this person has a history of pursuing, scamming, conning, women in sexual relationships. Let's just say this is a man that has this history of conning women into these sexual relationships, right, where they're being manipulative, they're entering into these situations with women, and they're just using them and discarding them, for sex. Typically, there's a strong indication there. It's not always true, but 9 times out of 10, in my experience in working with people who do this, they typically engage in same-sex behavior. They don't identify themselves as homosexual, and they'll never tell you this. Again, this is something that they do. They keep up this bravado as a player, but really there's some sexual things that are going on there. There's some sexual identity crisis that they're fighting with a lot. But that pattern of using and discarding women, high body counts and things, just kind of going through and being manipulative, the person that obviously has a deep-seated hatred, even for the one that fits their type, even the type or the preference is what they call it, even for those women who fit that criteria. And so ideally, if someone's your preference, you would be treating them better, or not ideally, but a lot of people think, but just because they're your preference, they would be treating them better. But in reality, that's not the case. The preference gets bad treatment also, and is still lied to and manipulated. But people, men who are doing this, there's a high probability that there is some sexual identity crisis. Sure, there is trauma. There's a lot of there may be sexual trauma and things that come to play, but there's also another side to it where a lot of times they are engaging in same-sex behavior. They're not being honest about that. Again, they're hiding that, but they are hiding that identity under the guise that I'm a player or that I have this life. And, there's all these things. But again, that there's a pattern of sexual deviancy there. And you want to be especially careful about that because, that's how a lot of people get caught up in situations where, they may be thinking that they're with someone or they have a partner, but then their partner brings home something that they can never get rid of. And it happens all the time. And I see it all the time. So again, when someone has a strong dislike, they're very insecure. They strong dislike for, the people that they're pursuing and they're sleeping with. They're actually actively pursuing these people and manipulating them under the guise of like, I like you and I want a relationship, but really I'm just going to sleep with you as fast as I can. And then I'm out the door. There's definitely some issues going on with sexual identity. I've just seen it so many times where, that's happened and worked with a lot of people where this is happening. And then, there's definitely some stuff. I want to make sure that I give the disclaimer that this, what I'm speaking to is, I am speaking to narcissistic behavior and sex, specifically in this episode, kind narcissism and sex. So if there's any situations where people are genuinely sexually awkward or, inexperienced and, all these other things kind of come at play, or there's like these random situations, it's not applicable here. I'm talking about people that are manipulative, and I'm talking about people that, I'm talking about people that are using people for sex. They're using them. They're being very cold. They're being callous. They're not being honest and forthcoming about what their intentions are. They lack integrity. And then the other piece is like, lastly, what I'll say is, this gets especially dangerous and tricky when people are kind of conning people, but they're also using unprotected sex, or they're pressuring, or they're saying that they don't want to use protection, and so they're engaging in these risks with any number of people, without having any respect for you and your body, or your feelings. Be very careful with that. Okay, so I think I'm going to stop here. Again, I hope that this episode helps. Love to hear what your comments are, and definitely type them down in the chat below. If you're watching this on YouTube, if you're a first-time listener here, welcome. If you've been here for a while, thanks for supporting me and supporting this show. And I look forward to chatting with you guys next time, of course, without the fireworks special appearance. And until next time, you guys take care of yourselves and be well.